So the first thing you want to do is you want to find online and research to find a picture that you like. And I would also try to do some kind of cartoon picture, maybe coloring book picture, but something kind of simple. So I picked a very simple pumpkin, and I want to right click on it and go to Save Image As. And if you don't have that choice, you can't use the picture. Once I do Save Image As, on the left I'm looking for the picture file, and then I'm looking for the saved picture file, and I'm going to click that open. And I think this is a pretty easy file name for me to remember. If it's not, you might want to change it, so I'm just going to change it to just pumpkin so I remember what I'm looking for, and it's a JPEG, and hit save. So now I have a picture that I want to work with. So now I go to Inventor and I start a new part file. So it says I'm working in a new part. So I want to start a 2D sketch on the XZ plane. On the XZ plane, I want to start by creating a rectangle. And in the rectangle, I want to dimension the rectangle. So I'm going to go up to Dimension. And I would click on the line, and I would like this to be 2 inches. Hit Enter, and I'm going to hit Top to kind of resize it a little. And then I'm still in Dimension because it's blue. I'm going to click on the side and pull it over. And I'm going to click on the number and make that 2 inches. And check or enter. And again, I'm going to hit Top. So this is kind of like my artist palette. So I started out with a 2 inch by 2 inch square. I'm going to hit Finish Sketch. And I want to take the square and extrude it. And I am only going to extrude it 0.09 inches. So it does not have to be that thick to be that durable. And I'm going to click OK. So this is kind of like my palette that I'm going to work on. So now on top of this palette, so see how we're at the top here, I'm going to click on top, and we're going to start a 2D sketch on the top of my palette. And what I'm going to put there is I'm going to go to Image, and I'm going to put my pumpkin image there. So I'm going to go to Image, click. I'm going to look inside the Pictures file. It's under this PC. And I'm going to scroll down, and I don't see it in there, so I'm going to open up Saved Pictures, and it's right here in Saved Pictures, so I'm going to click on it once. So pumpkin, hit Open, and I'm just going to click once for it to show up, and then hit Escape. Now if I hit the Home button, see how it's too big? So what I need to do is resize it so it's almost the same size as my palette. Now it's definitely not going to be exactly the same size. So if you get it close and kind of center it how you want it, and I'm having a little hard time centering it, and I slanted, so I'm just going to click Top. And I kind of like the size that it's at right now. And so that's the sketch that I'm actually going to be tracing. So I'll hit Finish Sketch. And now I'm actually going to put another sketch on top of the image. So now that I only have the actual beginning sketch was extruded, the second sketch was the image we put in, and now the next sketch is going to be on top of the pumpkin. And this is when I can actually have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to use the hand to kind of pull it over. I'm going to use what's called the Spline tool to trace the outside of it. Now when you use the Spline tool, you actually want to do kind of smaller sections and click your way around. Now it may not be exact, you're trying to get as close as you can, but it may not be exact. So see how this section here isn't really nice? But as you work your way around, and I'm trying to keep it as one whole spline, and even if I don't, that's okay. So let's say I'm going to end right there. So I'm going to hit escape. So my spline, oh, I'm sorry, I hit escape and I lost the spline. So let's try that again. So I'm going to work my way around. And it doesn't have to be equally spaced. I'm just going to kind of work my way around, and every time I click it kind of makes it better. So see how I have the line here? And it's close, but it's not how exactly I want it. So I'm going to zoom in a little. So do you see the little dots? You can actually pull those now to get it a little closer as far as around the edges. But remember, when you pull it, it also affects another part of it. So I kind of like how that is. So I'm going to pick up my spline again over here, but I have to move my pumpkin over. So I'm going to go back to spline, and I know I'm at the end when it turns green. I'm going to kind of work my way around. Catch up with the other one, so it's got to be green to connect it. So I'm going to hit check, and I'm going to kind of adjust some of these that need to be adjusted. And again, it may not trace exactly, but you want to get it so it's a nice shape. Okay, so I have the outside outlined, and now again I'm going to use spline, and I'm going to try to get the eyes done. I'm going to start here, and this is kind of easy because of the actual shape. But see how I can kind of, if I pull it over, it's starting to curve, and I don't want it to curve right there, so I may end it here and then pick it up again. And I know I'm picking it up again when it turns green. I'm going to kind of work my way around this section. Oh, I went a little too far, so I'm going to escape out of there and try that again. And it's not perfect, so I'll bring it in a little bit, and then I'll pull this one out. And again, you guys, it does not have to be exactly now I'm trying to finish up the eye. So again, it's green. And I kind of work my way around. And it takes a little work to do the spline tool. Nope, I don't want to curve there, so I'm just going to finish it. Move it over a little bit. And then this takes a little practice. So it's green, I'm going to start it. And I'm really going to click my way around this curve. Okay. Now here comes the fun part, to make it curvy. So you really got to play with this to make it a nice little circle. If you want to do a arc, you can do an arc, but otherwise you just kind of got to play with it, and it gets a little rough, and I'm not too concerned about it being smooth, so I'm going to kind of leave it as it is. And then I'm just going to kind of finish up and connect these edges, and I know it's green, so there the eye is kind of done. So right now I have the outside outlined and I have the eye outlined. Now if I wanted to, so the next part I want to do is the stem, and the stem here, because it's a little skinny, I'm actually going to overlap it on the face a little bit. So I am going to go to, I think this time I'm just going to use the line tool. So instead of starting right at the edge, I want to overlap it to make sure that the stem stays attached. Because if you get a part too skinny, it's not going to actually stay on the top part when we extrude it out and print it. So now that we have that. So right now, let's actually just hit Finish Sketch. And let's take a look at what this would look like if we happen to extrude this all upwards. Okay, so for example, if I hit Extrude, and I click on the stem, I click on the face, and I must have a hole somewhere because the actual body will not clean up. So I just have the eye and the stem, so I'm going to X out of this, and I'm going to go to top, and where I was actually creating the spline tool is where I was actually doing Sketch 4. So I'm going to go back into Sketch 4 and find out, oh, I had a mistake right here. So this, instead of being nice and towards the end, it overlapped on each other. So let's clean it up a little bit so it doesn't override on each other. And let's find out what happened over here. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to pull this in. Uh-oh, what happened to this piece right here? So let's click undo a couple times. There it is. So I'm going to go, I'm still in Sketch 4, and I'm going to zoom in. Again, I have these pieces kind of overlapping here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on it and even hit delete so I can find out where the hole is. So that I actually had it start all the way around. So I'm going to hit undo. And let's bring my pumpkin back into the parts. And we're going to look right here to find out what's going on. Doesn't look like anything else is overlapping. So I'm going to hit Finish Sketch, and I'm going to try to extrude the pumpkin again. So Sketch 4, I'm going to hit Extrude. And there's my pumpkin. And you see how the eye got cut out? Because I didn't choose to click on that, where if I clicked on the eye, that could actually just extrude too. But I want to do the pumpkin but not have the eye. So I'm going to be on Sketch 4, hit Extrude, and again I just want the pumpkin but not the eye, and I want the stem but not the eye. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go back now, and I'm going to finish doing the eye, I'm going to finish doing the nose, and I'm going to finish doing the mouth, all in Sketch 4. And once I have the eye cut out, the nose cut out, and the mouth cut out, I'm just going to extrude the pumpkin and extrude the stem, and then I'll actually just have those parts that have holes in them, except for the pumpkin outline. So I'll have a stem extruded out, and I'll have the pumpkin extruded out. So I finished doing the pumpkin face, and there's a couple different ways that I can actually extrude the pumpkin face to do something a little different. So all the pumpkin was done on Sketch 4, so I'm going to click on Sketch 4, and I'm going to go to Extrude. So now I can actually do the outside just upwards, and again I'm not extruding it a whole lot, 0.9, maybe 0.05, just a small amount. So you can do it that way on top, or you can go to sketch 4 and hit extrude. You can actually click on the mouth, the eyes, the nose, and look at it that way. The only problem with that right now is the fact that the outline won't show up, but the stem and the eyes and the nose and the mouth will show up, so we'll cancel that. Or we can extrude and we can go the other direction. See how this actually goes inward? So it's called an extrude cut, which is the second one down. And an extrude cut goes inward, and we're going to just do it a small distance inward. So I'm going to take the body and go inward, and the stem to go inward. And see how it kind of goes inward and it actually goes into the palette? So that's one possibility. So I'm going to click undo. Sketch 4. Now what some people have done is done an extrude cut inward, but they go completely through the 0.09 with the pumpkin face. Now the problem with that, if you look at it from the bottom, there's nothing holding the eyes, nose, and mouth in place then if this whole thing gets cut out. So these parts that are actually left are just floating. So if we 3D printed this, there would be nothing to keep it together. So you got to be careful with cutting all the way through something. So I kind of like the extrude cut a shorter amount, the 0.05, and I just did the eye and the nose and the eye and the mouth and the stem, and then I'm going to do sketch 4, extrude the face, but I'm going to cut it in and cut the stem in. Let's try that again. Sketch 4, extrude, cut inward the face and the stem. But I didn't go all the way through. See how I did not go all the way through? So it just cut into it.
Bella Fabrizi, please come to the second floor office. Bella Fabrizi.
Now I don't want mine to actually be square. I want to have a little bit more fun with it. So if you guys remember, this right here, this palette was made with sketch 2. Okay? So if this palette was sketch 2, what I'm going to try to do is go back into sketch 2 now, and I'm going to try to curve the edges. So what I'm going to do is, it's called arc So I did a little arc on this side, and I trimmed off, I used trim to trim off the other pieces. And I'm going to come over here and do another arc, except this one I'm going to do a little bit different and trim off this edge. And then I'm going to do another arc over here, and then I'm going to trim off these pieces, and then the last one I'm going to do on the bottom here. And I'm going to hit finish sketch. And so I've changed a little bit as to what the outside of mine looks like. So if you look at it, I made my keychain just a little odd looking. It's not too much bigger, because I can't do it too much bigger. But I just wanted to do it. Nice little pumpkin, little outline, unusual looking keychain. Now the last thing for me to do is actually to put a hole in it on the top. And I want to pick a point exactly where I would like to put the hole. So maybe about there. I'm kind of just eyeballing it. So see the green little cross that's right there. And I'm going to hit finish sketch so you can still see it. It's right there. And now I'm going to click hole, and I want the hole on that point, so can you kind of see how it goes through there. And I'm guessing I don't want anything more than, I think 0.5 might be too much. Yeah, that looks too big to me. But 0.25 makes it a little too small, so I think I'm going to go 0.35 so it's big enough for the keyring to go through. So now I have a hole right there. And the last thing I want to do, so I can actually see this a little bit better, I think I'm going to come over here to sketch 3, which had my pumpkin. I'm going to right click on it and hit delete. So I can kind of see what the final thing looks like without my picture. It's not too bad. It's not fabulous, but it's not too bad for a first time. Now it can only be one color. Can't be multiple colors, but at least it gives you some ideas how to trace and how to extrude and how to cut, and see how these parts are actually still going to be attached. It didn't go all the way through. I may go back later and add a couple designs up here, but for right now I still have done all this work and I have not saved it. So I need to come up here and go to File, Save As. And I need to go in my H drive, so under this PC, I need to go to my H drive, and I have a lot of stuff in there, and then I'm going to call this Pumpkin, I'm going to call this DeLong's Pumpkin Keychain, so I know it belongs to me. And I'm going to hit save. And then I'll show you a video how to change it to a file that can actually be printed and where to put it so we know what color to make it.